meet 100% of each student's demonstrated financial need. Nothing should stand between you and your potential. Visit depauw.edu.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan. A Cromwell media station.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome into the George Plaster Show. I was having a good day, and then about an hour before the show, my power went out in my apartment. So I'm getting out in front of the issue in case we drop, which fingers crossed we won't, because thank the Lord for hotspots. That's the reason. So right now we're all good. We got Kelly on the show. Robert Saleh just got introduced as the Titans head coach, and I believe he just wrapped up not too long ago. So we will be diving into all that. We got the college basketball insiders coming on at 3:20, and include me in that list as well. So we're going to see how this goes. We welcome in Kelly Holcomb to the program. Kelly, do you still have power?
What's up, Parker? How you doing, man? You're kind of freezing up. You're kind of glitching on me.
I know.
Like Wreck-It Ralph. It feels like Wreck-It Ralph. It feels like Wreck-It Ralph up in here, man.
I know. It does feel like Wreck-It Ralph. I am holding this together with my phone hotspot and this portable charger right here. So I told Brandon, I said, hey, just in case we drop, have ESPN on standby, just in case. But we're going to try to keep this thing going for as long as we can.
Yeah, I had to go to, unfortunately, I had to go to a funeral today over in Franklin, man, and I was quite shocked at just how much more ice Franklin, and I know that Nashville, I just talked to George, and George has he said he was about to throw up because he had a tree guy, an arborist, I guess, come over there, and some guys that cut down trees, and some of those old trees that he had a 125-year-old oak that he had to get cut down, and it's going to be a lot of money, man. I was quite shocked when I went to Franklin and I saw all the ice. Y'all got Franklin and Nashville, I think, got so much more ice than Murfreesboro. We had a lot, but I think both those two counties had way more than we did, and I can understand the problems that NES and all these electrical systems are having trying to get people back on track. And it's unfortunate that yours went out, man. That sucks because, I crossed my fingers and our electricity never went out here in Murfreesboro. Now I know some people did in our county, but where I'm at on the west side of town, man, we are pretty good with that. We don't really go out of electricity much, which is a God thing.
Yeah, and it's just all of this is just crazy. I kid you not. Literally, I was prepping for the show. I had everything set up. And then, boom, the power went out. And then it was like flickering back on and off, and then it's just been out ever since. So we're going to try.
There's things. Sometimes there's things you can't control, man. This is one of them, and I'm glad you told the station, because if we do go out, because you're glitching pretty bad. So I don't know. It's we're holding it together by a thread right now, but hopefully we'll get it through.
Bubble gum and paper clips is the motto for
That's
today.
Right.
I put away my notes because I do not want – my hotspot is only so strong, and I don't want it attached to like several different computers. It's just attached to the one right now. So we're going to try to push through. Let's see if we can get through America's favorite update without any issues. All right, so Kelly, as I mentioned, Robert Saleh just introduced as the Titans head coach. I was not able to listen to the full presser because it started at 2:00, and I've had some issues. But of course, from what I was able to listen to, it sounded like he won the press conference, which should not be a surprise.
Yeah, and he's been through this before with the New York Jets, obviously. So he knows he's been a head coach before, and that was obviously a learning experience for him. And I hope that learning experience that he had there and then coming here, I certainly hope that helps him out, man. I think the community deserves something. It's been, I don't know, man. It's amazing that we're talking about how bad the Titans are. And 5 years ago, they were they were the number one seed in the AFC. Going, I think it was 5 years ago, going into the playoffs, and they did get beat, but still, they were the number one seed. And it's just amazing that from where it was then to where it is now, and we've had a couple of head coaches, and it's kind of amazing how things can change. And I hope Robert Saleh, I'm with Frank yesterday when Frank called into the show. I know everybody's upset and everybody's talking about Mike Vrabel, but that ship has sailed, man. Let's don't. Let's give Robert Saleh a chance. He deserves a chance. Let's just hope that the experiences that he had in New York can help him with the experiences that he's going to have here. I think he's got a good young quarterback, but I think the community and the city of Nashville, I know they're down. I know they're upset. They got all this PSL stuff going on with the new stadium. He's probably going to take us into the new stadium, but let's give him a chance and let's see just what happens because he deserves that.
He does. And he was actually asked today what he learned from his first stint in New York. And he came back and he said, well, what didn't I learn? So I'm sure that he did, because sometimes you do have to fail to learn. And, I wasn't the biggest fan of the hire at first, if I'm just being honest, and I'm still pretty skeptical. And how could you not be, after posting a 20-36 record in New York? And I know a lot of people aren't successful there, but, it's hard to get rid of that stench. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. I'm a Titans fan. I hope that he does well, and I hope that I'm wrong. I will happily come on the air and admit that I was wrong if he happens to do well. So we'll just have to wait and see. But the Buffalo Bills, Kelly, another team that you played for, they introduced Joe Brady. One more time. There we go, because I know I cut out. The Bills, the team that you played for, they introduced Joe Brady today as their head coach.
Yeah, and I know people are talking about why did they let Sean McDermott go and then hire somebody within the building because that guy was part of Sean McDermott's staff. And if you're talking about Sean McDermott not being, right for the job, then how is somebody on your staff going to be right? And then you look at, then they brought up Liam Cohen, who was at Tampa Bay, and then he went to Jacksonville. They let him get away, and then there was somebody else. But that's kind of how things are trending. Like you have to look in the building, and some people that have been in organizations and they've let them go, and then they hadn't made the right hire, but the guy that they let go has done really well, like a Liam Cohen at Jacksonville. So it's going to be interesting to see how Joe Brady does in Buffalo. I'm for him because I'm a Bills guy. I love playing for the Buffalo Bills. I love that community. I hope he can get them over the hump. It's a tough deal, but just like I said the other day, how sick do you have to be that you got one of the best players in the National Football League, and he's been there several times, been in the playoffs, like I talked about. McDermott's been in the playoff 8 of his 9 years there. He's been to 2 AFC title games. He's won that AFC East 5 times with Josh Allen, and then New England, who was bad the last couple of years. Ever since Tom Brady's been gone, they've been really bad. And then they were 4-13 last year, and this year they've got a second-year quarterback in Drake May, and they get back to the Super Bowl, and that's all the Bills fans want, just to get back to a Super Bowl where they went 4 times in a row and lost all 4, like the Minnesota Vikings back in the 70s. But that's all they want. So I hope Joe Brady is the right hire for those guys, and I hope he understands the organization, and I hope he can get Josh Allen and the whole team to the Super Bowl because that's what that community needs.
Yeah, and it gives me, Dallas Cowboys vibes. They had a head coach in Mike McCarthy who they let walk after his contract expired. Then they promoted Marty Schottenheimer to head coach. They had very high expectations.
Brian Schottenheimer. Marty was his dad. Yeah.
Marty was the better of the two.
He was he was the dad. He was the Cleveland Browns guy, the Kansas City Chiefs
Brian
guy. Yeah.
Schottenheimer is what I meant to say.
Yes.
And the Buffalo Bills, they have high expectations, just like the Cowboys. And they fire Sean McDermott, and then they promote Joe Brady. So we'll have to see how it works out for him, even though I don't really know how much you're actually changing within the structure of the coaching staff. But I guess we'll just have to see how that works itself out as well. Kelly, I should have brought this up earlier, and I am kicking myself that I didn't do this. But Rutgers, they lost $70 million in revenue this year, in athletic revenue. And since joining the Big Ten, they have lost over $500 million. And they joined the Big Ten in 2014.
Oh my goodness. 500 million?
Yep.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
I keep seeing that stat or that number on my social media, and I cannot believe that I have not brought it up. But today seems like the perfect time. And Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Milwaukee Bucks it looks like he will be requesting a trade. He wants out. And we don't talk much NBA on the show, and there's a reason for that, but that's pretty big news.
Yeah, man, he was really a good basketball player, man. He really is. But it just seems like things are kind of heading south in Milwaukee with he and the organization. And once you have those kind of discrepancies and those kind of deals where it becomes a distraction to the team, I think something has to be done, and that's probably the way it's headed.
And a lot of players will be chomping at, or a lot of teams rather, will be chomping at the bit to get him. So Robert Saleh introduced as the Titans head coach. We will have clips that we will play throughout the show from that, because there were a lot of good tidbits, as you might imagine. But like we know, there have been several head coaches, general managers that have been hired by the Titans that have won the press conference, but it doesn't actually mean anything until they do something on the field. So you can get excited, and I guess it is an exciting day for the Titans. So Joe Brady introduces the Bills head coach today. We're still awaiting two more. There are two more vacancies in the NFL, the Arizona Cardinals and the Las Vegas Raiders. I did see something today that said it seems like it's going to be Clint Kubiak's job to lose in Las Vegas, like I said yesterday.
Yeah, it's when you get this far into the hiring process and you hadn't made a decision, the coaches you're looking at are part of the Super Bowl. So that's kind of where things are headed for both Arizona and Las Vegas. And you brought it up yesterday with Clint Kubiak, which he's a young guy too. But it's funny how people are coming off the McVay tree now. The Bill Walsh tree has been a long time going, and then Bill Belichick's had some guys. They hadn't been too, Mike Vrabel's probably the guy off that. And he didn't coach with him. He just played for him. So, but Bill Walsh is kind of the guy. And then now it's like the Sean McVay deal, the Mike Shanahan deal. He had guys come off his tree. It's funny how all that works, but Sean McVay's got it going. I really like the way he calls plays. I think he does a really good job of putting his quarterback in successful situations, and I think he does a great job of moving guys around, especially Matthew Stafford, who's an older guy. But it wouldn't surprise me. Everybody's talking about Matthew Stafford in retirement. It wouldn't surprise me if he comes back again, because I still think the guy can play, and he got those guys to the NFC Championship. And if you can protect him and keep him healthy, and this is coming from a guy that we talked about earlier a couple of weeks ago that we didn't even know if he was going to play this year. He thought he was going to have to retire because of medical reasons, because he had such a bad back. And he didn't even make training camp. And then he carries those guys to the NFC Championship game. Kudos to him. And Sean McVay is a really good coach, and he knows how to call plays, and they'll be back.
Matthew Stafford, I would be shocked if he retired. I would be shocked, because he's 37 years old, and he might be the league MVP this year. And they were this close to going back to another Super Bowl. So I would be shocked if Matthew Stafford retired, because he still looks like he can really sling it. So that does it for our update. We'll head to commercial, and when we come back on the other side, the college basketball insiders will join us. Lots to talk about. They'll join us for the remainder of the 3 o'clock hour. And then Kelly and I, we will spend the whole 4 o'clock hour recapping this Robert Saleh presser. Lots to unpack, lots to discuss. And 440, we'll open the phones and hit on anything that we might miss. So this is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
At Wilson Bank and Trust, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between personal service and digital solutions. As your local independent bank, we're proud to offer the relationships and trusted service you expect, along with the tools and technology that keep you moving forward. So whether you're growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank and Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC.
Are you looking for expert medical care in Nashville without leaving your home? Medical House Calls brings concierge-level health care directly to your door. Whether you need urgent attention, ongoing primary care, revitalizing IV therapy, or medically guided weight loss, our experienced providers are just a phone call away at 615-838-2375 or go online, medicalhousecalls.com. If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400.
Major League Rugby's biggest rivalry hits Nashville. The Chicago Hounds face the reigning champion, the New England Free Jacks, in the Music City Rugby Showdown. Live at Geodis Park, Sunday, April 19th, kickoff at 3. Hard hits, nonstop action. Don't wait. Get your tickets at chicagohounds.com.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
I like to give and go, 'cause it's basketball, but Mr. Curtis flow.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. Still no sign of the college basketball insiders. I'm sure they will be joining us here shortly. We can buy some time in the meantime. I guess we don't really have a choice. So, Kelly, I did want to get into this today because Tennessee played in Georgia yesterday, which, by the way, that was my bet of the day, and I called it. Tennessee did beat Georgia. They were a 1.5 point underdog, and they won by 1 on the road in overtime. It was the game of the night. So everything was pretty much dead even when it came to offense. But the big difference in this game was Tennessee out-rebounded Georgia 52-27. So almost doubled their rebounding.
Almost double.
So yeah, and it was a big night for guys like Nate Ament, who really you're really starting to see this talent that everybody was talking about before the season tipped off, of Nate Ament potentially being a top 5 pick, a lottery pick in the NBA draft, of being a one and done. He had 19 points last night on 7 of 18 shooting, and he included 2 threes in that. Jacoby Gillespie, who has been a revelation for the Vols this year, 21 points. JP Estrella, who got his first start of the season, I believe, yesterday, 17 points. But Kelly, really, when everything is dead even in a game like this, in an SEC midweek game, it really just comes down to effort, and the Vols dominated on the boards.
Well, anytime you can double up somebody on the boards and get second chance points and only hold people to one shot in basketball, you're going to win a lot of games. I was looking at the stats yesterday. We know we had Cole Kmet, or not Cole Kmet, but Dalton Connect a couple of years ago. Come on the scene and kind of take the game over for the Vols. But they've got two guys that can score in the Ament kid and the Jacoby Gillespie kid, and it's kind of amazing, Parker, because I was looking at an article the other day, and Jacoby Gillespie came from Belmont, and then they've had two other kids that come from Belmont. The Dia kid, the Malik Dia kid that went down to Ole Miss, and they had another kid, I forget his name right now. But just think about how this transfer portal is working, and yes, maybe it's one of them. I can't remember his name, but just think of how this transfer portal is working right now. Just think about, if Jacoby Gillespie stays at Belmont, if we don't have this transfer rule, just think about the team that Belmont has. And the article that I was reading was, I think that Vanderbilt's got two UNC guys, and I was going to ask the College Basketball Insiders. I think they got Jalen Washington and the Tyler Nickel kid that has come onto the scene for Vanderbilt. They were both University of North Carolina kids. Like, in what world are we looking to where you're a player and you leave the University of North Carolina? That's the home of Michael Jordan. That's the home of so many great players, and Dean Smith back in the day. And, it's one of those blue bloods. But now you've got kids leaving the University of North Carolina, and it was that article was amazing. Like, Illinois has been ransacked from kids. Like, they just had a whole article on this stuff, and UNC's been ransacked of kids, and now Belmont was the third team. Drake's been ransacked by kids. It's kind of amazing what this transfer portal's doing. But getting back to UT, man, it's this is another thing I'm going to ask too. What I asked Tony Basilio about, the toughness about this team. It's not like the normal teams of Rick Barnes when he started out at UT, where it was a football iron, the grid, the football grid on a basketball court. They were really tough, and he's had to change his outlook on how he's dealt with this team this year, and hopefully, obviously, they're coming around. But just like, last night, it was a 1-point game. But the SEC is kind of bunched up, and there's no really elite team. The articles talk about Texas A&M, and I think Texas A&M is 6-1. But do people truly, trust Texas A&M right now with being 6-1? It's kind of like their football team during the season. They were leading the SEC the whole time, and then at the end of the year, they got beat, and they got beat by Texas, and they didn't get to go to the SEC championship game, and then they ended up getting beat. So, does people trust the Texas A&M Aggie basketball team like they didn't trust? Because I didn't trust the Texas A&M football team, and it seems like some of these articles are saying that the Aggies, they don't trust them either on the basketball court. So it's funny how the SEC is working right now in basketball, kind of like it did in football.
Yeah, and it's okay. Like Tony Basilio brought up, it's okay that the SEC has a bunch of really good teams. There may not be an elite team like there was last year with Florida and Auburn. You can even put Tennessee and Bama in that category as well. Two teams that also made the Elite Eight. I believe the SEC had, if I'm not mistaken, 4 teams in the Elite Eight last year. That doesn't seem to be like it'll be the case this year. I think it's Florida. Vanderbilt has kind of picked themselves back up after a 3-game road skid. So they will they've looked really good. Tennessee, it's really interesting because night to night in the SEC, one result may not indicate what's going to happen next. So, Tennessee looked terrible 2 Saturdays ago versus Kentucky, or at least in the second half, giving up an 18-point lead. And you thought that maybe this team, there's a chance they won't make March Madness. And then they go and they beat a ranked Alabama team on the road, which, by the way, the AP has Alabama ranked somewhere in the high 20s with the same record as Tennessee, but Tennessee beat them, and Tennessee's not ranked. So I don't understand that. I have no idea how that works. But what I was saying was you give up an 18-point lead to Kentucky, and you bounce back the next weekend by beating a ranked Alabama team on the road, and then beating a Georgia team that has been ranked for a fair amount of the year on the road as well. So you never really know in the SEC right now.
No, I think you're right, and I think that goes along with these, with the kids. Like I just, I've said it about professional football teams. I've been in situations like this where you go into a game and, when you're out of the playoffs or when you're out of the race, if the game starts off good, you're good, like the Tennessee Titans had last year. If the game starts off fine, you're fine. You got a chance to win this game. But if you start off bad, man, it's going to tank. It seems like some of this stuff, like they don't finish till the end of the game, and they, when you start off bad, they just kind of lull, and they get in their feelings a little bit, and it just seems like this year is unlike last year. Last year, the SEC was elite, and I'm not saying they're not elite again because they still have some really good teams in basketball, but it just seems like they can't put it all together. Now, I know you're dealing with 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids, but, we keep harping on this point, man. It's hard for coaches to get a culture in their building, man. So like you're having to bring guys in, and it takes a while. Even though you know what you're getting and you think you know what you're getting because you've seen them on tape, but you've got to get them used to your practices. You got to get them used to your coaching, and that takes time. And I think you're seeing that all across college basketball. I think it takes time for all these kids to gel with each other. And then you bring the kid in from Alabama who was playing in the G League for 3 years, and now he's been in professional league, and then you put him on the court. Like, how does that gel for Nate Oates? I don't – that's just hard for me to understand. I don't get that, but that's the way that's where we're at right now in college sports, and you've got to adjust. And I know we're going to keep talking about it because I keep harping on it, but I grew up in a different time, and I don't know how these coaches adapt. And I don't know if they are adapting. I just think they're just holding on. Myself, you talk to people that are around some of them, and they don't like it either. But, if you're going to keep a job and you're going to keep doing what you love doing, coaching kids, you have to be able to adjust. And the future is adjusting. And I think that's what they're doing. I think that's why you see the ups and downs of the play. I don't think you see any consistency. And I don't know if you can get a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kid or a team to be consistent sometimes, but that's what you're striving for. But, man, it makes it so hard when you got a whole new roster each year.
And the great Lee Fowler has joined us, and I feel bad because last time we had him on, I feel like all we talked about were the legal issues going on in college basketball. So I think it would benefit all of us if we talked about things that actually happened on the court. So we can do that. Would you be okay with that, Lee?
I'll be fine with that.
Perfect.
I was listening to the show earlier. Rutgers is doing a fine job of managing their money in college athletics.
Can you imagine that, Lee? $500 million?
Hey, there've been a lot of people fired to places I've been. If you were over 100 million, I mean, I never was over at all. So I never had an unbalanced budget. So that's, of course, I didn't live in this day and time when they're giving away money like it's water. But anyway, and I also just heard some place that Vanderbilt's playing up at home tomorrow or on Saturday instead of at Ole Miss.
Yeah, apparently Oxford got the worst end of the ice storm or whatever. So they're not showing back up on campus until February 8th.
That's pretty fortunate for the Commodores to be able to play at home. Memorial's a pretty tough place to come in and win. So I know you have to do what you have to do, but that's a big break, and that's wonderful for the Doors.
And I know they were supposed to host Ole Miss at some point during March as well. So that game has been moved to away. So they just flipped the home and away. So that's how that's going to work. I did want to ask yesterday, Tennessee got a big win on the road at Georgia, 1-point overtime victory, 86-85. Has Tennessee, because when I watched them earlier in the season, again, I pointed out that it just looked like a bunch of transfers that weren't really gelling. You couldn't really tell if there was any type of chemistry. Have you noticed the chemistry starting to come together for Rick Barnes and company?
Yeah, I think they're playing better together. But as we all talk about, when I talk to these guys and his assistant coach is a really good friend of mine. He worked for me at NC State. It's day to day because these guys haven't been together that long. So you have some good games. After you have them 2 or 3 years, you kind of know what to expect. But right now, I mean, they're all going through it the first time together, and it's tougher to have a consistency that Kelly Holcomb's teams did and teams that I coached and played on did because they hadn't been together that long. So I think a lot of that's what you're seeing is the inconsistency of not practicing together for very long, and they're having the same issues of people being upset they're not getting enough shots or this or that, and it really exaggerates those issues when you don't know how to deal with them and haven't been through them before with those players. So I think all the teams struggle up and down. I thought Kentucky had found it. They'd won 4 or 5 in a row, and all of a sudden, they looked like they had never seen each other playing against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt had a lot to do with that, but also it was not a pretty effort by Kentucky and not very well. They didn't play very well together. So I'm seeing it all over, not just at Tennessee, and that's why you're getting these records of 13-6 and 14-7, and you're losing some games that you normally would have won, and sometimes they're losing them at home, which is really kind of strange because that was kind of a safe haven for all those years in the SEC. They had great home court advantages. And now you're seeing some teams go on the road and beat people that you wouldn't expect them to beat. So it's all a part of the game today. And as Kelly was talking earlier, it's part of the transfer issues that you're getting a bunch of players that have been taught different things by different coaches every year. And it's Vanderbilt's got 2 NC players, but they went other places before they went to the Nichols kid went to Virginia Tech before he came to so they've been all over playing, and so I think it's interesting. I don't like it that much, but it's what we have at this point. I think all the things that happened this week with Dabo and Ole Miss and those type things, I think are what George would say is a breaking point, and it'll be interesting to see how those things fall out in the future in all the sports.
Oh, is Parker gone on us? Okay. We're having some problems, Lee. As his apartment complex went black. The electricity went out. So let me ask you this: Texas A&M's leading the SEC right now. It's kind of like what I talked about earlier with A&M in football. I don't think I didn't believe it last year. They played really well. They had the kid from Nashville being their quarterback, and he played really good. And then they get beat by Texas at the end of the season. Don't make it to the SEC championship. And I didn't really believe in Texas A&M football wise. What do you think about them basketball wise? Because the things that I'm reading, I don't think people really believe in them either in basketball.
Well, of course, I haven't looked at their schedule where they played people, who they played. You can be 6-1 or 7-1 and not really played the best teams in the league yet. So that'll work its way out in the second half of the conference. But yeah, and they've got a new coach. I mean, Buzz is at Maryland losing almost every game at Maryland, and their coach is fairly new to that, and he has his own system. So I think there are a lot of questions about that team because not many people know much about them, and they don't get a lot of publicity, but they sure have done well in the opportunities they've had to do. But I'm like you. I think, another thing that got me is that I was amazed that the Vanderbilt. I mean, some of the guys that played for Vanderbilt the other night, I didn't even know were on the team, and they really competed. Now, in the days of Vanderbilt, this is really a compliment to the staff and Byington and the AD and everybody else. I mean, their team is built different than it's been in the past. I mean, you used to have 3 or 4 or 5 really good players and then fill in the 7th, 8th, 9th guys. And they've had a lot of injuries here lately. And all of a sudden you're seeing these guys that are 8 and 9 on their squad, and they're really talented. And, hopefully they'll keep playing that way. But it's amazing to me with what we're going through with transfer and stuff that Byington and his staff have done a great job of putting people there that can play past 5, 6, and 7. I mean, that's amazing because that's never been the way Vanderbilt's been very good. We've always had good players, but they were 2 years away from, being the star players. And now he's got guys that are backups that are really competitive in the SEC. So, we'll see as we move on, because the Kentucky game was just so ridiculous the other night. It was not very competitive, and those guys that hadn't played much really stood out. So we'll see as we move along. But I really think that's something that's different in the SEC that always has been. Vanderbilt beat you because they had 4 or 5 good players and got them same year, same time. Now he's done a great job putting that group together and keeping them together and then playing hard together.
With Vanderbilt having 3 losses, do you think Vanderbilt, because the article that I was reading today, we talked about it and Ron talked about it last week. I think Florida's probably the elite team in the SEC, and I don't even know if they're elite. And I think everybody's all jumbled up together. But do you think Vanderbilt can come on and they've kind of righted the ship after, losing 3 in a row. They've had 2 big wins. Do you think they can win the SEC?
I think they could. I think it'll be probably a long shot. They still have some great games, and some of them are on the road. But, yeah, I mean, the way the records in the SEC make you feel like there's going to be 4, 5, or 6 losses to the team that wins it, which probably tells you there are going to be some ties, and it's who you beat and where you beat them and that sort of thing. So I think Ole Miss is coming to Nashville at this point in time is very good for Vanderbilt, because Vanderbilt needs a win. Just got jumped, Kelly. You like that? I have my wife's phone in my pocket, and she can't take it away from me. But, I think it's very interesting. Now, the thing that I don't like that much is what's it going to do in the end when they're picking teams. When you have teams that have lost 6 and 7 in the conference and 5 or 6, it's so much different, because you're used to having in the ACC a Duke that loses 1 or 2, Carolina loses 3 or 4 at the most, and then that means the league's good. But it's going to be a struggle to get the numbers in that they've been getting in the past, just because of the teams that have played some games they really shouldn't have lost and lost badly. It's going to be tough for them to put the multiple teams like a 13 last year. They won't get 13 in this year unless things change.
Okay, so I asked this question the other day to somebody, and I was wanting to ask you, Tennessee, we've gotten so used to Rick Barnes having a football team on the basketball court. When he came in with Grant Williams and all those guys, Admiral Schofield and, Zakai Ziegler the last couple of years, those are tough kids. And I'm not saying you don't have tough kids now, but it seems like it's a different team. They're not as physical as they normally are. Do you see that? And is it what you just talked about? And I think I talked about it, alluded to before you got on the show. It just seems like every year is going to be like this with this new style of transfer portal and guys moving around. It takes time, where we used to get 2 to 3 years where, we were familiar with kids, and now, these coaches are having to adjust on the fly, and, now it seems like it's kind of coming together for Tennessee a little bit. But I don't know if how do you form consistency in all that, Lee?
I think it's tough. And the Izzos of the world and the Barnes, who have done it through many, many years of having a guy and having him become a senior and being a good player for him and understand the system and not make mistakes. I think those guys are learning too. They've got to kind of back off some of that and get guys that are more talented, maybe not as defensive minded as they have been in the past. And, I've been on staffs where you're 10 and 9 and trying to figure out what's the right thing to do. And then all of a sudden you win 8 or 9 in a row. And so I'm sure they've been struggling. But, Barnes has been at it long enough that he'll find it quicker than other guys have, because he's been through so many of those experiences. So I think they're a very good team. I think they're very talented, and I think they'll only get better the longer they play together. So I think they're a team that will be one of the top teams in the league.
I've kind of asked you this before, and this goes along, but yesterday I was looking at stuff, getting kind of prepped for the show, and I came across an article talking about basketball, and it was talking about some of the schools, and they had UNC as one of them, and USC is a blue blood. They're an ACC. They've won national championships. They're always in it. It's Duke and North Carolina. That's what people think when they think about ACC basketball. But UNC has kind of been robbed. I think Vandy's got two kids. I think they got the Tyler Nickel kid and the Jalen Washington kid. What kind of world are we living in where 10 years ago, when you get a call from the UNCs of the world or the Dukes of the world or the Illinois of the world, Illinois was one of those teams too, where you're at UNC, you would never think about transferring. And now kids are just transferring out of these blue blood schools like normal. Like, what kind of world are we living in now? And, are these blue bloods just another school now? I mean, I know that people are, it's UNC Duke, and it's Michigan State and all this, but like, do kids think about them like they used to think about them, Lee?
I think they do, but there's money involved now, and so that it changes a little bit. Washington actually graduated, so he's a fifth year guy, so that's why he left. Nichols never shot it very well at UNC his freshman year. Came out of Virginia as the leading scorer in Virginia high school basketball ever, and couldn't make it out. He just couldn't make the team because he couldn't make open shots in. So whether it was the pressure of needing to make shots because they didn't have any other shooters. So I know a little bit more about UNC than I do most because my son-in-laws are both graduates of UNC and keep me well informed about what they can't do. But the biggest thing, watch the game. I think it's tonight, Michigan State and Michigan. Cadeau, whatever his last name is, he was a sophomore and a great player, and he left to go to Michigan. And so they've got really good players that have left to go to other schools. The other kid went to Arizona a couple of years ago and played 2 or 3 years out there. So nobody's sacred anymore. Nobody, as long as you got a chance to win the national championship, but you almost have to be the guy if you're really good or think you are, or you're going to go somewhere else and be the man. And so that's what those schools are going through. I heard a very interesting interview, and you'll love this, Kelly. They talked to Izzo about Michigan. Asked him, did he hate Michigan? He said, I hate them worse than anything you could ever imagine. He said, I hate them. I don't like to see them. I hate the color blue. I hate them. He said, but, I changed when I got a little older. I used to just hate them. And he said, it cost me because I wanted to win so bad. He said, now I respect them. He said, I respect all my opponents. And he says, that's where you've got to get to. You can hate somebody, but you got to respect what they do. And he said, I respect Michigan, but I still hate them. So I thought that was interesting. But that game tonight will be a really good game. I think Michigan State's lost one, and I think Michigan's lost one. So those are the two best, or two of the best in that league. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes. And of course, Nebraska lost to Michigan the other night. I watched that whole game, and that was very interesting. And Nebraska's a very good team, but if they don't shoot it well, they struggle. So Michigan kind of ran them off 3-point line. So there are a lot of good teams, and it's amazing to me that these teams are going with only one loss this late in the year, with all the things we talked about, with not being with their players for very long. Now, Nebraska's a little bit different. They've got all their guys back. That's probably why they are being successful. But yeah, it's the blue bloods aren't the blue bloods anymore. And Duke's been amazing. They've reloaded every year, and the same team but different players. So they're not dependent on guys staying or going. They're getting one and dones, and most of them have been out of the Duke family with the Boozers and those guys. So that helps them also because they understand what's going on at Duke, and so therefore it's not just going there because they're a great program.
We've got a great conversation going with Lee. We'll continue it on the other side of this break. This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Smashville hockey. Around here, it can sound like a language of its own. But hey, if you can pronounce Demumbrian, then names like Yossi, Shea, Marchessault will roll right off the tongue. Nashville Predators, only in Smashville.
Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall is the new home for our Football Night in Nashville promotion. Their food is terrific. Their TV setup looks like a racing sports book in Vegas. And if you're a sports fan, you can't beat it. Starting September the 4th, we'll broadcast from Sports and Social every Thursday night. There's Pop-A-Shot, great football, and the chance to win a beautiful Mikey's Motors golf cart. See you at Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall. Here's Officer Darren Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
You've heard me talk about the putting zone. Well, guess what? It's now open, and it offers a revolutionary indoor golf experience featuring state-of-the-art putting surfaces designed to replicate real-world course conditions. It allows players of all skill levels to practice, compete in tournaments, and connect year-round. Go by and see them at 3040 Sidco Drive and tell them Plaz sent you.
Major League Rugby's biggest rivalry hits Nashville. The Chicago Hounds face the reigning champion, the New England Free Jacks, in the Music City Rugby Showdown. Live at Geodis Park, Sunday, April 19th, kickoff at 3. Hard hits, non-stop action. Don't wait. Get your tickets at chicagohounds.com.
Tell them Plaz sent you.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Welcome back into the Plaster Show. We got another segment here with Lee Fowler. The good news is my power came back on, so I'm able to access my headset, and I probably sound a little bit better than when I'm coming through the old system here on the computer. The bad news, my Wi-Fi has been in and out, so we got the computer connected to the hotspot. So at least we have Lee Fowler for another segment, just in case I drop. He's able to ramble some more, and it's been great. It's been great. And I wanted to continue the conversation that we just had with Nebraska and Michigan. I also watched that game, and Nebraska came out of the gates on fire. The Jamarquez, I'm blanking on his last name, kid, had 18 points in the first 10 minutes of the game, and they were on fire. What happened in the second half?
Well, I think some teams, you get the point with teams that are undefeated, especially, you reach some point in the season where you're trying to make sure you hold on. So, it changes from being dominant and flowing to just trying to make sure you don't do anything wrong. And that is a bad situation to be in. They still had lots of opportunities at the end of that game to tie it and even to win it, and just couldn't make shots. And they looked tired to me. They looked like their guys were worn out. Michigan's probably got better athletes than they do. But I thought they were a very good team, and they're a team that's going to have to be reckoned with because they can make open jump shots. And they like, you can tell they like each other when they're playing. They give it to the guy that's open, no matter where it is and who it is. And so those kind of teams are going to do well. And I would say, this is not a long shot, Kelly, but I'm going to make the statement that they're going to win an NCAA tournament team a game this year, the first time ever.
I hope so, man. You
Yeah,
think that's going? You think that's in the back of their minds, man? Do you think that's going to put a little added pressure on them? Or are they just going to go in free flowing? Because that's hard to do, man. When you've never done something, you know it. You say it's not there in press conferences and all that, but in the back of your mind, man, this is pretty big for Nebraska.
well, the good news is they keep winning. They're going to play somebody that would have
That's
trouble.
not very good.
As our good friend Boots Donald said, can't play dead in the cowboy movie.
Right.
So that's the good news for them. Now, you wouldn't want them to catch Belmont or something on the first night because they'd be like teams, and you know, there are a lot of those teams in the tournament. But yeah, the pressure's there. But I think that team's such a veteran team. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll win. They may get to the regionals this year because they do have the type team, and they got to stay healthy because one piece of that puzzle leaves, it would be tough for them.
How much of the game do you think was decided by the fact that Michigan got to the free throw line a lot more than Nebraska? And do you think that had anything to do with officiating or just the physicality of Michigan?
Well, I think athletically, Michigan's they had trouble guarding them. So when you have trouble guarding somebody, you hold on their pants, you hold on their shirts, you go after them at the goal. I thought they did a great job rebounding against a really good rebounding Michigan team, but athletic teams get fouled more, and they're bigger than Nebraska, so that's going to happen. But if they'd played that game there's the human aspect of officiating. If they'd have played that at Nebraska, they would have got more free throws, I can promise you. Or the fans would have run them out of Lincoln if they'd had that kind of disparity. But I didn't think there was a lot because they were shooting a lot of threes, and you don't get fouled a lot shooting threes. So that was the different type games they were playing is why I think that happened.
And the freshmen had a phenomenal day on Saturday. There were 3 freshmen that scored over 40. DeBansta, BYU, had 43. Kingston Fleming's 42 at Texas Tech. And then Keaton Wagler, 46 against Purdue in Mackey. And it's not easy to beat Purdue in Mackey. And he kind of did it by himself. So what do you make of this year's freshman class?
I think they're very good. You got to throw Boozer in there. You got to throw some other guys in there that are more probably on teams that are a little more talented, that other guys carry the weight as much as they do. But there are a lot of NBA guys on these rosters that are true freshmen, and I'm sure they'll be one and gone. And that hadn't changed with all the transferring because they don't get a chance to transfer. They transfer the NBAs where they transfer to.
So there were, I think the latest mock draft I saw had the first 5 picks of this year's draft being freshmen. Is there a legit case that this may be one of the most talented freshman classes ever?
Man, I don't know about that because I don't pay that much attention to it. But I would say those 5 that you're talking about, you've mentioned most of them already. They're very talented, and they'll be great in the NBA and get an extra step. They don't foul. They don't call fouls. I mean, there's a lot goes on in the NBA that makes a very talented player. They want them to be talented in the NBA and want them to show what they can do. So they're really good. Now, having said that, in the NCAA tournament, that doesn't always make you win games because you have one of those great players, because they can get in foul trouble or they can have a bad shooting night and all else goes away. So it's still a great sport. I just are frustrated about the transfers, and I thought that Dabo came out and said what needs to happen exactly 100%. One transfer. If your coach leaves, you can transfer again. And if you graduate, you can get an extra year of eligibility. And those 3 things, I think, would resolve it. Now, can they get that done and voted in? And whether a judge would say, well, you're still restricting trade and not letting that guy go where he can make more money. You're not letting him play on your time. I mean, it's just it's crazy. But at some point, they're going to have to stand up and say, these are the right things to do. They're the right things for young people. We got to teach them what's right and wrong. And, this is where we're going to do it. And if you want to play in college, this is what we're doing. And if you don't want to play in college, go to the NBA and they'll let you, they won't let you transfer every year. So even so there's got to be something done, and hopefully it'll be done after this year.
Let me ask you this. When you were talking about the Blue Bloods, Lee, and I don't know if we can answer this. I think it comes down to each individual kid that's playing. But you used to, you went to a place and you learned the fundamentals of the game, and everybody's goal was to, obviously be the best player you could be to help the team win, to win a conference championship, and to maybe win a national championship. Do you think the kids care about that now? Or do they just care about how much money they're getting paid?
No, I think they care about going to the right place, have a chance to win. But the main thing, like always been, they want to be a program that will let them show their talents off where they can be more successful in the future. Now, the one thing I think that's out there, Kelly, is guys that know they're not going to play in the NBA, and they're going where they can make the most money.
Right.
So I think that underlying group of kids is where all the issues are going on, not the great players, the real superstars. They're not worried about that sort of thing. They know they can play and they know they're the best. But you got a big group that, I saw the other day somebody got their 8th year of eligibility. The NCAA gave them the 8th year. So those aren't going to the NBA. Those guys are trying to make as much money as they can before they have to go out and sell life insurance like I did right out of college. So that's where those people are.
Right.
And the NCAA has trouble saying, no, you can't have an 8th year. Why? I don't know. I guess they lose every case they ever take to court. But those are the kids that are jumping around so much that really, a couple of guys are at Vanderbilt. They didn't leave because they were great at North Carolina. They left because they could make more money somewhere else and get a chance to play somewhere else and maybe show what they could do somewhere else. So those are the real lion's share of the kids that are creating this transfer issue.
Lee, really appreciate you coming on early. I know it was a lot earlier than you're used to. We'll be back at 4 next week. Really appreciate you adjusting and great conversation as always. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Good to see you, Lee.
You, man.
We'll head to the break. We come back on the other side. We got stat of the day. We may have Ron Bargatze join us because there's a good chance that he could join us at 4, and we could talk some more hoops. And then we can also break down Robert Saleh's presser today with the Tennessee Titans. It was a really good one if you haven't had the chance to listen already. This is the George Plaster Show.
Busy Bee, yeah, Busy Bee.
Hey guys, Big Joe here from my friends over at Busy Bee. Listen, new year, new friends. Buy one Beehive membership and give one Beehive membership for free to a friend in Middle Tennessee. Look, I am a Beehive member and I would love for you to be one too. Yeah, Beehive membership only from our friends at Busy Bee.
Call 775-7833.
With no credit check and payments as low as $20 a week, why wait to upgrade your home? At Electronic Express, get everything you need, from premium appliances and TVs to gaming systems and more. Whether it's building your dream home theater or updating your kitchen, we make it affordable and easy. With over 40 years in business, trust us for the best selection, service, and guaranteed low prices. Shop online or at any of our 22 locations across Tennessee and Alabama. Electronic Express, for every moment of your day.
The National Wild Turkey Federation is returning to Nashville February 12th through the 14th for its 50th Convention and Sports Show at the Gaylord Opryland Resort. Come join in the celebration of conservation and the outdoor lifestyle by exploring countless exhibit hall vendors, ride and drives, seminars, turkey calling and call-making competitions, and so much more. Also, experience nightly events with live country music and fundraising. Join in the fun that benefits wildlife conservation and the preservation of our hunting heritage. Visit nwtf.org for more information.
Now, here's your latest Fox 17 Code Red weather report.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobis. This afternoon, mostly cloudy and high temperatures in the mid to upper 30s, so a good deal of ice melt should take place today. Unfortunately, a refreeze overnight with temperatures back to the 20s. And tomorrow, a chance for some snow by the afternoon.
Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Do you ever feel like gambling is causing financial strain or hurting your relationships? The Gambling Clinic has been helping people change their gambling habits for over 2 decades. With physical clinics and remote online appointments, we're here to help you make informed decisions about your gambling. Visit us at thegamblingclinic.com so we can work together to help you win back your life. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Brought to you by the Tennessee Gambling Clinic, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Journell Construction. When winter wrecks your place, this is who you call. Tree through the roof, basement flooded, ice damage, deck smashed, roof leaking, power out, and everything feels sideways. Journell Construction does it all. Tree removal, water damage, structural repairs, roofs, decks, driveways, and full winter cleanup. Journell Construction. One call to the company that handles it all. Real help when you need it most. Do not wait for it to get worse. Get it handled now. Go to journellconstruction.com. That's journellconstruction.com.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Now time for our stat of the day, brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. Despite being fired, Kevin Stefanski had the highest winning percentage of any Browns coach since 1999. Kelly, you should get this. Who is second on that list?
It's 1999. Please don't. It can't be the coach that I was with. Browns coach since that winning percentage of the Browns, 1999. Hey, golly, Kevin, there've been so many coaches, man. I'm gonna have to say the one I was with, Butch Davis.
This is a tough one. So your answer is Butch Davis.
I mean, I don't think that's right, man. I don't. But there's been so many guys. I can't even think of the guys. There's been so much turmoil with the Cleveland Browns that I stopped. You stop following some stuff, man, because they've been so bad. And I hate to say that about one of my former teams because that's where people know me the most. Let me think for one more second. Who was? Yeah, that's who I got to go with, man.
Final answer is Butch Davis. Man, Kelly, a .407 winning percentage.
Yeah, there's myself, man. I was a much bigger guy then. Good gracious, dude.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Intern Ty threw you a layup right there, or threw you an alley-oop.
He did, man. I appreciate that. Thanks, Ty. Because yesterday was one of the most unbelievable questions I've ever had, and I had no chance of getting that. So thanks, Ty. I appreciate that.
Kelly,
good looking out.
Have you seen the viral clip of Emmanuel Acho? I was going to play that for you, but considering the circumstances, I didn't have access to do so. Maybe that'll have to wait until tomorrow. Have you seen the viral clip of Emmanuel Acho talking about the Browns' new head coach, Todd Monken?
I have not.
I'm going to spoil it for you. So apologize in advance for any of you that have not seen the video. Can't believe it. He was basically saying that nobody was excited about, or there's nothing exciting about Todd Monken being the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. And if you're Shedeur Sanders, you shouldn't listen to him because what has he won in the NFL?
Yeah, I don't know about saying that to somebody, man. Just like we're talking about Robert Saleh. I mean, we got to give the guy a chance. Yeah, that's pretty tough right there. And telling a guy not to listen to a coach is, I don't know. I don't think I could do that. I think everybody deserves an opportunity. And, he did good things when he was with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. guys deserve an opportunity, and he's got his opportunity now. Whether he does with it, no, there's not many people that have done much in Cleveland since the Browns have been back since 1998 was when they came back after they got, after there was a new franchise and it became the Baltimore Ravens. Kind of crazy, man. So I don't know. I just love that city because that's where most people know me from, but it has been a place where there's been so much inconsistency, not only in the organization, but as the owner. We've had a couple of owners, and they just have not been able to make the right decision from a head coach perspective. And until you've got that, and until you can get a quarterback in place, it's still going to keep going on. I like Shedeur Sanders. I think I think the guy could play. I don't know how good he is. I mean, does that mean that they're moving on from Dylan Gabriel? I mean, he's still there as well. So I don't know. I mean, it's just that's the thing about the Cleveland Browns organization. You just have to throw your hands up sometime, and you just have to say, like, I have no clue what they're doing. And I don't know if I was Emmanuel Ocho, I don't know if I would have said quite that. But when we're talking about it the other day, I don't know if that's a very highly motivating job that people want right now because they've seen the amount of losing that Cleveland's done. Now, they've got a really good defensive side of the ball. But until they have a guy planted in and they thought they had it in Deshaun Watson, which they gave him all that money, which I felt was crazy. I don't know why you give him that much money. And they're still like, if you make a decision at quarterback and it's the wrong decision, Parker, it can set you back 3 to 4 years. I mean, that's the way it is. And it's set the Cleveland Browns back decades because they have not been able to get the right quarterback. And, when I was there and when Tim was there, we were both battling, and, half of the team wanted him, half of the team wanted me. That's not the way things happen, man. You have to have some consistency there. You have to have some consistency in the organization. And then when you have that, then you can get a coach in place and you can get a quarterback in place. And they've yet to do that since they've been back.
Why would I read to you what Emmanuel Ocho says when we have it? Thank you, producer Brandon. Here is what Emmanuel Ocho said on the speakeasy regarding the Browns head coaching job and Shedeur Sanders.
Because any expectation for Shedeur Sanders under Todd Monken, I believe, will lead to disappointment. There is nothing about Todd Monken as a head coach that should get you excited. As an offensive coordinator, you could say Lamar Jackson had an MVP season under Todd Monken. As an offensive coordinator, Lamar Jackson had 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions under Todd Monken. As an offensive coordinator, you can make arguments under Todd Monken. Stetson Bennett won 2 national championships at Georgia under Todd Monken. But as a head coach, no. Nothing about Todd Monken as a head man gets me excited. I need to see who the offensive coordinator is going to be. That's what I need to see. But what I don't yet see, T, is like, how is Todd Monken going to command that locker room, command that group of men? And also, if I'm Shedeur or anybody in that locker room, why am I listening to Todd Monken? What have you won on an NFL level as a head coach? You're not even a head coach on an NFL level. So I don't even have expectations for Shedeur under Todd Monken because I believe any expectations I would have, he would not meet. Because why am I excited about it, T? Why?
Well, why are you excited about Jeff Hafley? Why are you excited about Jesse Mentor? Why are you excited? I mean, all these guys have to start somewhere. I mean, I'm sure people weren't excited about Mike Holmgren a long time ago either when he took the head coaching job for the Green Bay Packers. Like, everybody has to have an opportunity, and, they have to make a name for themselves. Nobody knew of Mike Tomlin before he went. They knew he was a defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, but they didn't know what he could do as a head coach when he went to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's kind of, I don't know, man. I get it. I understand that. Like, he wasn't one of the big name guys out there. I understand that, but like, somebody has to have a start somewhere, and he's been in football for a long time, and he understands and he knows how to coach. So I don't know, man. I think you could, when you're on ESPN, when you're on shows like this, your opinion, that's what everybody wants to hear. Everybody's got to be opinionated. Everybody's got to pick a side, and I understand that. Don't know if I would have said that because I think everybody deserves a chance. Maybe people aren't excited about it, but hey, he might be the next greatest coach ever in Cleveland. Who knows?
That's the thing. He said this, and I immediately, because to be honest, I dismissed it because we're all thinking the same thing. It was stupid. It was dumb. Nobody actually believes that Shedeur Sanders shouldn't listen to Todd Monken, because guess what happens if you don't listen to him? You're probably not going to play, and you might do this to your career. So I'm sorry. I didn't realize Shedeur Sanders has won so much at the NFL level. I mean, I understand he's a Pro Bowler, but it seems like he got in because there are so many people ahead of him that said no, and that's no offense to Shedeur. That's just the reality. He didn't even play a full year. So I heard that, and I couldn't believe my ears. I honestly thought I was listening to Skip Bayless.
That's pretty tough right there. But, like I said, you have to pick a side, and, when you're on those shows like that, you have to it's sensationalism at its finest. That's what media is now. That's what sports is. It's sensationalism, and you have to be able to sell things. Not everybody, like Jeff Hafley's never been a head coach in the NFL. Jesse Mentor's never been a head coach in the NFL. Kevin Stefanski, literally, when I was with him in Minnesota, he was not even a coach. He wasn't a quality control coach. He wasn't an assistant coach. He was in football ops. And then when they hired him to be the head coach for the Cleveland Browns, I was like, that Kevin Stefanski that wasn't even in the football side. I mean, he was in football ops, but he wasn't a coach. Man, and now he's the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, and everybody's happy about that. And he did some good things. He was a coach of the year twice for the Cleveland Browns. Nobody ever knew him. I don't know, man. It's a tough business, and in this social media world, man, everything's got to be sensationalized, and everybody wants a like on the like button, and that's all that is. That's kind of crazy to me.
This is clickbaiting. This is engagement farming, whatever you want to call it. I've been on radio shows where we've had random texters pop up in our YouTube chat and say, "Man, y'all are just clickbaiting. Y'all are rage baiting." No. What you just heard, that is the perfect example of rage baiting, because it wasn't even posted 24 hours ago, and it already has over 7 million shares, likes, reposts, plays, whatever you want to call it. We all know. Listen, we're not idiots. We all have the same opinion on that. It was dumb. It should have never been said. Unless you're trying to get engagements and reactions, then you were successful in doing so. So I see Ron Bergazzi in our stage. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pivot a little bit. So we're going to go to break a little bit early, and when we come back, we're going to go extra long with Ron. Get some more college hoops discussion in, because there's going to be a lot of college basketball talk over the next couple of shows. And then we'll wrap up with some quick thoughts on Robert Saleh's press conference with the Tennessee Titans today. This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. You've heard me talk about the putting zone. Well, guess what? It's now open, and it offers a revolutionary indoor golf experience featuring state-of-the-art putting surfaces designed to replicate real-world course conditions. It allows players of all skill levels to practice, compete in tournaments, and connect year-round. Go by and see them at 3040 Sidco Drive and tell them Plaz sent you. Are you looking for expert medical care in Nashville without leaving your home? Medical House Calls brings concierge-level health care directly to your door. Whether you need urgent attention, ongoing primary care, revitalizing IV therapy, or medically guided weight loss, our experienced providers are just a phone call away at 615-838-2375 or go online, medicalhousecalls.com. It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
Major League Rugby's biggest rivalry hits Nashville. The Chicago Hounds face the reigning champion, the New England Free Jacks, in the Music City Rugby Showdown. Live at Geodis Park, Sunday, April 19th, kickoff at 3. Hard hits, nonstop action. Don't wait. Get your tickets at chicagohounds.com. Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. We are joined by dear friend of the program, Ron Bargatze. Lee joined us earlier in the 3 o'clock hour, and now we get Ron, so we get to talk to him individually. How great is this?
Coach B, we're going to talk about transfer portal the whole time, big dog.
We're going to talk about all the legalese, the NIL. We're going to get into all of that with you, so I hope you're prepared. Did you by chance study law when you went to school?
Pardon, what's the question?
Did you study law when you went to school?
No. We had no idea what that was.
Come on, look at Coach B, man. You know he didn't study law when he went to school.
Well,
What's that supposed
work.
to mean?
I do a little part-time work on law.
I mean, you kind of have to. If you cover these sports in the off-season, you kind of have to be an expert on law to talk about it now.
Well, that's true.
So-
There are more legal issues now than there are results and opinions, although we're not real short on opinions.
No, that's true. I, for one, am not an expert. I don't speak fluent legalese. So I told Lee that we would just stick to what's actually happening on the court. And I guess we can do the same with you if that's okay.
Oh, that's okay. I might throw in an opinion on some of the legal things, but I think that Nick Saban said all I need to say about that.
Yeah, Nick Saban's pretty much covered it all. So I did want to start on the court for the Vols. They got a 1-point victory in overtime in Athens yesterday over a pretty good Georgia team. Nate Ament really seemed to be coming on as of late. He had 19 points in the game versus Georgia last night. Are we really starting to see this talented freshman that everybody was anticipating now about midway through the regular season?
Well, I think the physicality of the league was the learning curve for Ament because he is, even though he's tall and thin, he's not quite at the not a Wembanyama yet in terms of making the transition to the next level.
Will he be able to be successful? Because I know he's pretty much going to be a one and done. That was understood from the start. So when he goes to the NBA, will he be able to have similar success if he doesn't put on more weight?
Well, he's going to have to get a little stronger. And, sometimes it's not just your brute strength. It's how you use it and the leverage you have physically to how quickly you can make that transition.
And we've talked about from top to bottom in the SEC, there doesn't really seem to be that elite team like last year. We had 4 teams in the Elite Eight, whether that be Florida, Auburn, Bama, or Tennessee. This year, it just seems that there are a bunch of really good teams, and that's okay. But the strength at least at the top of the conference doesn't seem to be comparable to what it was last year. What do you make of teams like Florida and Vanderbilt, who Vanderbilt was able to snap out of their funk? They're on a 2-game win streak. What do you make of teams like them?
Well, I think Vandy's done a good job of bouncing back after having those 2 losses, those 3 losses in a row. The schedule kind of gives you a lot and it takes a lot along the way. And a lot of it, when it's all said and done, is who you played, when you played, and where you played. And Florida is a team that's kind of rising above the ashes right now, and I don't think there's any question that they're the best team in the league.
And now transitioning to the Big Ten, I'm pretty sure that you kept an eye on the Michigan-Nebraska game. If not, you probably watched the whole game. I know Lee was talking to us about that. And Nebraska really seemed to have control of the game throughout most until the final minutes. Then Michigan kind of took back the lead. What do you make of where Nebraska is? Do you think they are capable of winning the Big Ten this year?
I don't know. I think they are probably certainly a top 2 or 3 teams in the league, but I don't really think they can win it. I think Michigan State and Michigan both are a little bit better overall talents.
Which ironically they play on Friday, I believe a 7 p.m. tip-off on Fox. Michigan, they have a lot of length all over the place, whether that's Lindenborg or Ade Mara, all these guys, Morez Johnson. Do you think that Michigan is a legit national championship contender?
Absolutely, I do. And just remember, just a few short years ago, no one knew who Dusty May was. And that's to the point I heard the top quarterback in the country talk about in the first hour there, when he talked about, guys getting jobs who are not necessarily the real deal yet. But there's a lot. I remember when Bob Knight left the Army and West Point and went to Indiana, no one really knew how he made that transition and how he got that job. But we found out the time has educated us as to just how good a coach he was and how easy it was for him to make that transition. We lost a really good player who on the Sunday afternoon that Bob Knight was announced as the guy getting the job at Indiana, we had a guy named R.T. Green from just across the river from Louisville who told me at my dining room table on Sunday afternoon he was coming to Vandy. Well, by the time he got home that night and had a message from Indiana's new coach, Bob Knight, that whole thing changed, and Knight came in there and sold him on being there, and he was a part of that first really good group that had to finish in '76, with the national championship, the undefeated team that Bob Knight had there that was so good.
Coach, did you ever have any dealings with Bob Knight?
I did. I had more dealings with him in golf than I did football, but
give us a story. Give us a story of Bob Knight.
He's a big golfer, is what I'm hearing.
C.M. Newton used to put on a tournament here in Nashville, bringing in head coaches from around the country, and they could bring their own amateurs with them. So Bob Knight came in to play in the tournament. It was held at Old Hickory Country Club, and I won't use all the same language that Bob Knight used. I don't want to get the George Plaster Show thrown into purgatory.
We really appreciate that.
FCC. But Bob Knight brought a good team in, and C.M. Newton was kind enough to invite me to play, and he gave me a team of the guys who were the sponsors in the tournament. The sponsoring hotel had a team, had some guys, and the media, another media guy came in there. So we had a kind of a ragtag team, but we had a good first day. And this tournament was a Saturday, Sunday at Old Hickory Country Club. So I'm sitting at breakfast that morning, and Knight comes down and sits across from me, and he says, "Bargatze, I can assure you one thing. First of all, you're not going to win the tournament because we're playing in front of you, and I'm going to slow walk your you-know-what, and you'll never be able, by the time you hit, you'll be so frustrated you will not win it. Now, we may not win it, but you're not going to win it." But he threw in a few expletives in there and told me that. And sure enough, there was about a 5.5-hour round, and there was a team named Gary Colston's team from New Mexico came out of nowhere to beat both of us. So it's kind of like Knight's team was putting so much attention on keeping us from playing defense on us, if you will, that he took a lot of our momentum away. and we didn't win it, and he didn't win it, but he was happy because he had a little short-term goal he was able to reach.
When I played for the Indianapolis Colts, Bob Knight came up to talk to us along with the director of Hoosiers, the basketball movie Hoosiers. And you are absolutely right about his mouth. It was pretty rough, man. He was not scared to use those expletives. But talking about that 75 and 76 team that he had that went undefeated, how incredible was that in basketball? That'll never be done again. You think that'll never happen again?
No, and I've talked to several of the former Vandy players. We've had some social get-togethers of late, and Rod Freeman made a real important observation. He says, we played together, and it's been 50 years ago, 1972, 73, 74, and yet here we are getting together, having a good time, good relationships, lifelong friends. We know each other's family, their wife, and their kids, and everything. And he says, the guys 50 years from now, unless this thing turns around a lot, will never be able to have those long-term relationships because they played on 2 or 3 different teams, and in a time where you don't really recognize former teams quite as much because of the turnover in personnel and the short terms that people are there. They're there 1 or 2 years, either on the front end or the back end, and it's just not the same whenever you have those great relationships you have, and you have success, and then you get to know them and their families very well. It's pretty nice.
That's kind of one of the things that I was asking Lee about because, I was reading an article, I brought up some guys that are on Vanderbilt's team that played at UNC, and UNC, somebody did an article about some of the kids that are leaving, and then I brought up Tennessee, and I brought up like how this is kind of not the Tennessee team that Rick Barnes is used to having, like with the Grant Williams, Admiral Schofields, the Kai Zieglers, those tough kids. And it seems like Tennessee's starting to come around a little bit now, but it seems like that in this new day and age of transfer portal, this is how it's going to be because you're getting a whole new team every year, and it takes time for them to connect, and it seems like it's probably going to be towards the middle part of the season or the latter part of the season before they start clicking, and that seems what it's happening to UT. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, I think some of that stuff is after the fact, and I'll just give you an example. I remember in 1975, we had a really tough rivalry, Vandy and Tennessee, people throwing oranges on the floor and stealing the game ball and throwing it up in the stands. There was some crazy stuff that was going on at that time. Vanderbilt throwing oranges at the Tennessee players on the court. And I mean, it was really wild. Now, in 75, because I developed a relationship with Coach Mears, he had offered me a job to come and be on his staff. Stu Aberdeen was leaving. A.W. Davis was leaving and getting out of coaching. And so he and I had several talks, and he offered me the job there. And the one reason that I didn't go, well, there's 2 really. One is I had a lot of friends at Vanderbilt, and I would have been kind of persona non grata if I'd left Vandy and gone to Tennessee. But another thing is that when you think about returning back to my hometown and being against Vandy, that was a hard pill to swallow. Plus, we had the class coming up of Tommy Springer, Charles Davis, and all that crew, and that was a good, very, very good class. Greg Fuller was the unsung great player who came out of Jackson Central Mary that we were able to get very late, and he was a really, really good player. And I stay in touch with him to this day. But knowing those guys and play, and then we had the Charles Davis, Tommy Springer group, Mark Elliott coming on the next year. I felt like we had a good chance to get all of those guys, and I just couldn't see leaving and taking by the way, a lot more money on the salary at Tennessee than there was at Vandy. So I felt like a free agent, but I couldn't pull the trigger and do that.
Coach, isn't that kind of the sad part when you think about it, when the times that you coached back in the day and the times that, when I was playing and I got to have a relationship with my coaches. Isn't that kind of the sad part about where this all's heading? I mean, I hate it, but that's kind of where it is, because it's hard to have relationships with kids because they're just, they're one and done. They go somewhere else. And as a coach, that's what you want. That's what you do it for. You want to have a purpose in kids' lives, and I think you still can, but it's got to be really quick. And I just don't know if you can establish those relationships that fast.
It's kind of a fly by night, hit and run situation. And I can tell you right now, I'm sure glad that I got to coach Mike Rhodes for a short time before I left Vandy and coaching. But I was his family meant a lot to me. I was at Tennessee Tech, and Dave ended up going to Ole Miss, but we recruited him really hard. But I got to know Mike's family very well, and my life wouldn't be the same without the Rhodes family, and I'm glad I got to experience that, even though I probably forfeited some opportunities, because the guy who took the job that I did not take at Tennessee was Cliff Wettig, who Coach Mears had some psychological issues there and stepped away for a while. Cliff Wettig was the interim head coach at Tennessee. So that probably would have been my job had I gone. And I always wonder, what if? But, in sports and coaching, there are so many what ifs that you have. Those forks in the road, you take one and things develop. You take another one and you can't imagine being without the original way you were going. So I just thought that was that comes to my mind as being an example, and what Rod Freeman said about the relationship of players and long-term, how that means so much to a lot of people.
I asked you last week about the conference, and we talked about, Florida's maybe the elite team of the conference, but everybody's kind of jumbled up in the middle. But, Texas A&M is leading the conference right now at 6-1. Do you trust Texas A&M at the end?
Let me tell you, Bucky McMillan is a really, really good coach. He was a high school coach in Birmingham. He went to Samford, kind of that guy. Right. He was hired as a high school coach. Nobody knew who he was across the country on the college level. And he went down there and did a phenomenal job. He can coach the game, and he has proven at Texas A&M that he knows how to continue that.
Coach, I wanted to ask about Rick Barnes, because it just seems like there's been this proverbial, ceiling, I guess, of him not being able to lead Tennessee to a Final Four. He was given a lifetime contract in the offseason. Do you think that he will be able to lead Tennessee to a Final Four at some point? And if not, what does that say about him as a coach? Because I know we all believe that he's a really good coach, but what do you think that'll say about his career if he's never able to reach a Final Four with Tennessee?
Well, I think the deck has already been determined. I think Rick Barnes is a Hall of Fame coach. He's a Hall of Fame person. He's a guy I have great respect for. And I think nothing that happens the rest of this year or the following year are going to tarnish his reputation and his status as being one of the best. He's definitely a Hall of Fame coach.
All right, I think we can all agree on that. And I know there were a lot of Vols fans just patiently waiting for that Final Four. So we'll see if it were ever able to happen. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. Coach, really appreciate your time. Next week we'll be back to the normal time at 4 o'clock, but really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. It's always good to share the mic with my favorite quarterback.
That'll be.
Oh,
can't play golf in this cold weather, though. Well, yeah, he's talking about me, Parker, not you. Not you.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but I was also a former quarterback. So I didn't play in the NFL like Kelly did, but I did play in college. So I do take offense to that.
Well, you know what?
Eat it, Parker.
That you're not as my favorite on the show. I don't know much about I need to see your stats before I can make a final decision.
Oh
no, you don't. You don't want to see it. You don't want to see that. Coach
He's a
B, you don't want to see
Cincinnati
that.
type. He wants the production over the potential. That's what Coach B is.
He doesn't need to see that. He doesn't care to see it, Parker. I'm his guy, okay?
Hey, you know Boots Donnelly, don't you?
I do.
Right?
I do, for sure.
I ran into Boots. Boots and I played Little League Baseball against each other. He's one of my favorite guys anywhere, and I always has been. So if you shared space with Boots, you're a good man.
That's right, baby. You know it. Me, Parker.
All right,
Thanks,
you,
Coach B.
Don't
See you,
gas him
brother.
up too much, Coach B. But thank you. We'll talk to you next week. Unbelievable.
Parker, he doesn't know you. He never knew you until you came on the show.
This is a perfect time to go to break. And then Kelly and I will dish it out during the break so that y'all don't have to hear it. This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400. Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall is the new home for our Football Night in Nashville promotion. Their food is terrific. Their TV setup looks like a racing sports book in Vegas. And if you're a sports fan, you can't beat it. Starting September the 4th, we'll broadcast from Sports and Social every Thursday night. There's Pop-A-Shot, great football, and the chance to win a beautiful Mikey's Motors golf cart. See you at Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall.
Major League Rugby's biggest rivalry hits Nashville. The Chicago Hounds face the reigning champion, the New England Free Jacks, in the Music City Rugby Showdown. Live at Geodis Park, Sunday, April 19th, kickoff at 3. Hard hits, nonstop action. Don't wait. Get your tickets at chicagohounds.com. Welcome back in the final segment of the George Plaster Show on this Thursday. You know, Kelly, sometimes Coach B has a little bit of a difficult time leaving the studio sometimes. So sometimes I have to give him an added boost and respectfully kick him from the studio. Well, really? I went to go click on his little icon, and it gave me the option to permanently ban him from the studio. And considering how the last segment went, I'm not going to lie, I was a little close. I was this close to permanently banning Coach B from the studio.
I don't think old Jorge would have liked that.
No, he wouldn't have, and I wouldn't have done it. I never would have done that.
I don't know.
But
You sound like you can be vindictive, Parker.
I'm a little bitter. Maybe I'll give myself the 24-hour rule, and I'll come back tomorrow, and I'll be brand new. We'll see.
Grow up. Put your big boy pants on.
Well, we are going to get into Robert Saleh's presser for this final segment since a lot of college basketball talk, but I figure I should probably lead this off by saying the Eagles have a new offensive coordinator, former Packers QB coach Sean Mannion.
Okay. He
Per
played.
Adam
He
Schefter.
played. I think he played.
Yeah,
He did
so we're
play. I
seeing
can't.
guys like
I remember that
him,
name. Yeah.
him and who's the offensive coordinator in Minnesota? Josh McCown.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, is he the
Blau.
offensive? Is Josh McCown the offensive coordinator? I played with
I
Josh's
believe so.
brother.
He's either the
I played
QB
with
coach.
Josh's. Yeah, I played with his brother in Cleveland, Luke. But Josh has kind of made a name for himself, man. He was with Frank Reich when he was in Carolina, and then I didn't realize he'd gotten the job in Minnesota. He wasn't out of a job long, and I didn't realize he was the offensive coordinator. I think doesn't the head coach call the plays there?
Yes, Kevin O'Connell. Yep, he
Which
does.
I'm sure the offensive coordinator. I'm sure the offensive coordinator, when you got a guy like that, he runs the meetings and things like that. But he's kind of made a name for himself, and it'll be interesting to see what he does, how he does.
So also too, we have, we see former professional quarterbacks taking on these either QB coach roles or offensive coordinator roles. Davis Webb, who played his college ball at Cal, had a short stint in the NFL. He was getting some head coaching interviews. Don't think he's going to land a job. He may get a coordinator job. David Blau, who had stints with several teams. He's the new offensive coordinator of the Commanders. So that kind of seems to be the trend right now, at least with former quarterbacks getting either assistant roles on the offense or coordinator roles. So, but we got to talk about this Robert Saleh press conference, because I said this morning that we all knew he was going to win it because Robert Saleh is a very gifted speaker. But the biggest thing that we all wanted to take away from this press conference is what his plan was for Cam Ward, because we understand that Robert Saleh is a great defensive mind. He's had several top 5 defenses, whether it was in New York or San Francisco, both stints. He's a culture builder, very gifted communicator, but we all wanted to know, what's your plan for Cam Ward? And we do know that his plan clearly wooed the front office and the brass enough to get a deal done the first time that they met him. They met with him for 5 hours. At the end of the 5 hours, they're like, you're our guy. Let's get a deal done. It took a while. It took a while to get him to speak in front of the public, in front of the media for the first time, but we eventually got there. Here's what he said earlier today when he was referencing his plan for Cam Ward.
Hi, Robert. Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com. Can you walk us through a bit your plan for Cam Ward and how you and Brian expect to get the most out of him heading into his second year and into his career?
No, absolutely. Great question too. Like Cam, from everything that I've gathered, just all the discussions I've had throughout the building and throughout the league, comes with an elite work ethic, elite character, an elite person. And, when you look at his body of work as a rookie, a lot of these rookies, when they come in through the middle of OTAs. But so the biggest thing that we're going to work with Cam, just going all the way back to the beginning, we've gotten a whole off season to work with him, take him back to the very, very beginning, both on the field, off the field, the process at which what it looks like to not only be a professional with regards to preparation in his body, but as a professional with regards to preparing from a game planning standpoint or a playbook standpoint. But, just talking with Dabes over the course of the last few weeks, he is the perfect man to match up with Cam and to maximize who he is. So again, we're really pumped to get to work with Cam and get him to where we all know he can be.
So that's what Robert Saleh said regarding his plan for Cam Ward. And you heard at the end that he mentioned Brian Daboll. And I know that he presented a plan to the front office when they met. And then he even presented a backup plan just in case that first plan didn't work out. And Kelly, something that I wanted to know about this, and we probably were not going to get Robert Saleh to publicly come out and say, but I wanted to know where Mike McDaniel fell in all this, because for me, personally, I would have thought that Mike McDaniel would have been his first choice given their San Francisco ties, and then Brian Daboll is probably the backup plan. Well, Mike McDaniel is now the offensive coordinator of the Chargers. Brian Daboll is here. So what do you think of Brian Daboll and how he'll mesh with Cam Ward's skill set?
I think you'll be really well. It's all about Cam Ward at this point right now. He's got a whole year of experience under his belt. He had some ups and downs. He didn't have a very good team around him, but they started kind of gelling towards the end of the year, and they made some things happen. They got some wins. They played a Kansas City team that was without Patrick Mahomes, obviously, that wasn't very good, and they hadn't made the playoffs, and that was the first time they hadn't made the playoffs in a long time, so that team was a little bit different. But still, it's a win, and a win in the National Football League is good, and when you can get some confidence towards the end of the year like that, going into your second year, that's big for a quarterback. And I said yesterday, I said the day before, like, kudos to Robert Saleh, because he knew, and he knew the temperature of the room. He knew what they were going to ask about. He knew, I'm sure, talking with people around the league, what the Titans already thought about Cam Ward, and they think that he's the guy. So when he went in there, he sold that point to them. Now, I don't know what all he said, but I think he sold that point. And me personally, I know that you're talking about Mike McDaniels, and obviously with his deal in Miami, and then and now he's going to the Chargers. But me personally, just looking from the outside in, I think this is probably a better hire. He seems like he fits Robert Saleh a little bit more than Mike McDaniel. Now, that's just me just talking. That's just my opinion. But I've had a quarterback coach, one of my good quarterback coaches that I was really close with in the NFL, Carl Smith. He coached under Brian Daboll, and he's everything he said about him. He likes him. He liked working with him. Everything I've heard about him, I actually text him because I'm trying to help somebody. I actually text him, and he texts me back. Most coaches don't do that. So I texted him yesterday or 2 days ago, and he texts me back about the guy I'm trying to help get try to be a quarterback coach here. Maybe that happens. Maybe that doesn't. But, that just shows you a little bit of the character of the coach that they got. I mean, most coaches don't even get back with you. They think it's a privilege for you to talk to them. And he texted me right back, and I was kind of shocked with that. So I think he's the right hire, and I think they're going to do everything they can to make Cam Ward successful. That's Brian Daboll's job. That's Robert Saleh's job. That's the organization's job. Give him everything in order for him to be successful. And when he's successful, then the whole organization can be successful, because I've told you over and over again, the coach is tied to the quarterback. And maybe this can be a deal where we don't have to get a new coach every 2 or 3 years, where they do in Cleveland, like we just talked about. So maybe this can be the stopgap of something really successful going forward. And maybe Brian Daboll is the guy that can, get Cam Ward, teach him the game, get some guys around him, get some people that can block, get some more weapons around him. I think Borgonzi will do that. I liked his draft last year. I like the way that they're going with him, and maybe that's all Amy Adams Strunk needed, somebody in that role that's like Mike Borgonzi, who can take the bull by the horns and can kind of tell her, hey, this is what we need to do in order to be successful. And I think she may have confidence in that now. So I have confidence in it so far, because I like his draft from last year. I'm like Terry McCormick. I'm not sure that those guys are going to be Pro Bowlers or all pros, but I think they're going to be guys that you can do something with in the National Football League. And Gunnar Helms, in the all the two receivers that they got, DK and the Ayomana kid, I think that they're hits on that stuff. So if they can get some more people around Cam Ward, I think it's looking up. I really do. I hope so. And they've got a lot of cap room. Last time they had a lot of cap room, they didn't do very good with it. I'm interested to see who they can bring in and how they can use that to make this team successful.
In case you missed Robbie and Rex Road.
Can I have a quick bonus rant? Just a very quick one?
Yeah, get in there.
I'd like to invite each member of the Alabama Crimson Tide, both their players and their fan bases and their donors, to all collectively pound sand. Have some of that over the weekend. You cheat, you bring in this dude that's been in the NBA, and you still lose to Rick Barnes and the Tennessee Volunteers. Have some of that, Charles Bediako. Have some of that, Nate Oates. Pound sand. Nate Ament made him your daddy over the weekend. 29 points. Pound sand to the University of Alabama.
Yeah, this is all it took to get you into college basketball, huh? All right.
I will say that did help. Like, oh, they want to cheat against Tennessee. I'll watch. Yeah,
that's a good rant. That's actually that could be a rant. I'm reserving that as a possible rant for later this week. Still,
Wake up with Robbie and Rex Road. Weekday mornings at 6. Your sports live here on 102.5 The Game. In case you missed Chase and Big Joe.
Are you going to ask it like Batman and Forever? Who's your tailor?
Or ask it like Jeff Fisher. Hey, man, where'd you get your new suit from, man?
Hey, this is your tailor. You're the local guy. Thanks, Kroger.
Domino's delivery.
Chase and Big Joe, weekdays at noon. Your sports live here on 102.5 The Game. Now, here's your latest Fox 17 Code Red weather report.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobis. This afternoon, mostly cloudy and high temperatures in the mid to upper 30s, so a good deal of ice melt should take place today. Unfortunately, a refreeze overnight with temperatures back to the 20s. And tomorrow, a chance for some snow by the afternoon.
Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Hey guys, it's Mike from Newton Chevrolet of Russellville. Tired of complicated car visits? We've made it easier than ever to book the service you need or schedule time with our sales team. Whether it's time for routine maintenance, a recall check, or you want to test drive that new Chevrolet you saw online, your next visit starts with a simple click. Our website is always up to date and easy to navigate. Don't put off that service or that upgrade. Take control of your schedule and your vehicle needs today. Schedule your service appointment today at newtonchevroletofrussellville.com.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
If you're worried about a child who may have experienced sexual...
That
Wow.
is crazy. We almost made it a whole hour without me having any issues. Hey, I'm a tough cookie, Kelly. This Wi-Fi, this power outage is not going to stop us from finishing the show. All right. We got about 4 minutes left. We can finish strong. I did want to real quickly get to those other clips because I know I said I had 3. Here's what Robert Saleh said about the reason why he chose Tennessee. It's a really good answer. Take a listen.
Hey, Robert. Corey Curtis with News 2 here in Nashville. It's been reported that this was the team that you circled that you wanted to be the head coach of. Obviously, there have been some tough times here the last couple of years. What was it about this team that you were willing to stake your coaching future on it?
Yeah, shamelessly, I probably did as much research on this organization and the people, the leadership committee in this organization than they probably did on me, and did a ton of research on everything I could in terms of from top all the way down. And what I found is that the people here are unbelievable, and getting a chance to meet everybody in person just was an affirmation to what I had already heard. I'm a firm believer that people win championships. And this organization is built to win a championship because of the people, from obviously Miss Amy all the way down. The people here are unbelievable. And so that first and foremost is what drew me close to this organization.
So that's what Robert Saleh said about why he chose the Tennessee Titans. And you expect Robert Saleh to be really prepared. This, his second coaching stint, second time around being a head coach. He said he thought he did more research on the organization, on the city, on the people than the front office. So pretty bold statement to make, but that's what you want to hear out of your head coach.
Yeah, that's kind of, I don't know, man. Like, he did more research than they probably did on him. That's kind of crazy, man. I mean, it's like, Nashville is a great place to live. Like being in Middle Tennessee is a great place to live. It's a great place to bring your family. That's why people are flocking to the Middle Tennessee area. There's places around Nashville that you can get into. You don't have to live in Nashville. So, that's a huge draw to this area. But, hey, he's saying all the right things, but we all know that talk is cheap. Talk has happened around here quite a bit in the last couple of years, and talk is cheap. So I do think they have things going in the right direction, but I've said that before. And I think Mike Borgonzi is kind of the guy that can piece everything together and can gel everything together. He's from Kansas City. He's from a winning organization. He's been around good people. He's been around winners. And we've got to give him a chance too. I think he's different than the general managers we've had there the last couple. So I'm just interested to see how all this works, and I'm interested to see who they get around Cam Ward, and can he be the guy that I think he can be and everybody else around here wants him to be? That's the interesting thing for me.
Last clip that I wanted to share before we wrap up. Here's what he said on building the culture, because we know the culture has not been the best over the last couple of years and frankly over the last 6 years. But here's what Robert Saleh said on building the Titans culture.
Robert, Jill Johnlick, Fox 17 Sports. You mentioned what you want the team to look like on Sundays on the field. But when it comes to building the culture you want to see from this team in the locker room here in Nashville, what are the biggest keys you want to emphasize when starting to build those building blocks for the culture you want?
No, again, it goes back to people, bringing in people who are capable of executing the vision of the entire organization. We're going to preach effort. We're going to preach strain. We're going to preach violence. We want great character individuals both on and off the field. And that's where Borgo and I, in terms of evaluations, is checking the box on making sure that these young men are actually capable of doing that. That's what builds culture. And we'll always maintain that standard. We're going to, obviously, with the I've always said that the best coach teams are the teams that coach themselves, but in the beginning, it's going to come from us. And at a certain point, as this team becomes veteran and it takes off and it understands what the standard is, the players will maintain the standard. And at the end of the day, the standard will always be the standard. But it starts with people.
So that's what Robert Saleh said on building the Titans culture. And Kelly, you know just as well as I, the best teams, regardless of level, whether that be college, whether that be NFL, heck, it could be even middle school, high school, it doesn't matter. Those best teams are always the player-led teams, and that's what Robert Saleh is wanting to see. Now, it helps having a man in charge who establishes the culture, but it's ultimately up to the players to carry on that culture. So we got about 30 seconds left here. I wanted to wrap up with my bet of the day results over this last couple days. I am 1-1. So I'm looking to advance to above 500, which we'll see if I can tonight. And the Nashville Predators, they have a big one tonight versus the New Jersey Devils. This is on the road. They desperately need some points in order to stay in this playoff race. We'll see what happens. I'm taking the Preds. We'll be back tomorrow, or it will just be me, but that's okay. Kelly has the day off. We'll talk to you tomorrow. This is the George Plaster Show.
Hey guys, it's Mike from Newton Chevrolet of Russellville. Tired of complicated car visits?